You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed.
What's up, y'all? What's going on? Good morning. Let's see here. So I kind of slept in today. Not kind of. I fucking slept in today. I've been sleeping in actually for several days in a row now. I think like a week now. I've been not getting up early. I've been staying up later, and I've been off of my game lately. Been off my routine. And I wanted to kind of talk about that. I wanted to get in here and talk about that because I'm getting down on myself about it, you know? I'm beating myself up in my mind quite a bit lately about this. Dude, what are you doing, bro? You know, come on, man. Get your shit in gear. And I want to make excuses, right? I want to make some excuses because I have a lot of things going on in my world right now. You know, and I can minimize those things about myself. You know, we haven't really talked about minimizing too much. You know, minimizing is this idea that you will take something that you're dealing with and you'll make it smaller, seem smaller, so that you can justify beating yourself up over it, right? So let's just say, for instance, I got a new job. I start that new job this morning. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to start that new job. So that meant leaving the old job, which I had been at for many years, a very good job, a very secure job. But this new job came up, and I wasn't really looking for a new job. It sort of just presented itself, and the opportunity is really good, so I took it. But that's a big risk, right? Quitting the old job, starting a new job. There's a lot of risk involved. There's stress involved. There's some uncertainty involved. You know, so those are a lot of things to deal with, right? Uncertainty is a big one, right? I got a mortgage, I got bills to pay, I got a daughter to take care of. So I have a lot of responsibility, which leads me sort of into this next, you can see my cue cards here. I wanted to get into responsibility, right? And what responsibility means. And so I have my responsibility definitions here. And that's not really what this podcast is about. This one, I kind of wanted to just be vulnerable with you guys a little bit and wanted to talk about my, you know, this idea. I'm beating myself up right now because I'm not on my game. And like I said, so I want to minimize, right? We're kind of minimizing, right? I want to say, well, Jason, you should be grateful you have a job and that you got a new opportunity and you know, a lot of other people face a lot of other things that are very much more to deal with than what you're dealing with. See, that's minimizing, right? And all of those things are true. Don't get me wrong. It's not like any of those things aren't true, right? I should be grateful. I could maybe change the word should. I could be grateful. Should implies shame. And sometimes shame can be harsh. You know, when you're being harsh with yourself or with others, you should be grateful. And maybe I should be grateful. You know, you can replace should with could. I'm going off a little bit this morning. But anyway, like I said, you know, finding gratitude. I do have a new job, right? Another thing that I'm dealing with right now is I'm looking at changing the schedule with my daughter again, and we're looking at going into a 50-50 schedule, which means a lot more time for me, which is a lot more responsibility for me. Right? She's going to be with me a lot more. I have to look at arranging daycare, and I have to look at dealing with her mother and what her mother is going to want and not want, and that means, you know, some conflict, because there's always conflict with with baby mama and I, there's always conflict. So, these things are stressors, right? Now, again, I can minimize these things and be like, well, you're not at war and there aren't fucking incoming mortar fire, and that's true. But let's not minimize the things that I have to face. Being a father is a big responsibility. Taking on a 50-50 schedule is a big responsibility. Having to deal with conflict with baby mama is a big responsibility. Having to do that without getting in fights and arguments and doing it cordially, that's a responsibility, and that's something that I have to take care of. These are big responsibilities, right? I'm working on a new relationship, a new romantic relationship with a woman, right? That we are working on. That's another responsibility. That's another big thing. These are several big things I have going on in my life at once. I got a home that I have to maintain, home ownership, which is new as of 6-7 months ago. That's new. That's brand new for home ownership, right? Anybody who owns a home knows, man, that's obviously you make a 30-year fucking commitment, right? That's, 6 months in, you're still learning how to, what the quirks of the home are. Especially here in Arizona. It's my first summer here in Arizona in this home, so that's a lot of learning to do about how this home operates in this heat. So again, and I don't want to minimize any of these things, but these are really good excuses for me to slip out of my game, right? And I've still been going to the gym, right? I'm going to church and I'm praying. I'm getting on my knees in the morning. I'm doing my journals, right? So some of these things I'm just not getting. Lately, I haven't been getting up early at that 4 o'clock hour, right? Today, I set the alarm last night. Even last night, I set the alarm for 5. Right? Even right off the bat, right? Set it for 5. It came around at 5, and I was like, and I reset that joker for 6. Right? And that thing went off at 6, and I was like, and I kind of laid there for a few minutes. Didn't get out of bed till, 6:15 or so. So, and I didn't go to the gym. I went to the gym yesterday. That's one of the great things about this woman that I met. She wants to go to the gym. So her and I, she does that and likes to. And so her and I, we'll hold each other accountable. Let's go to the gym, right? So that's really cool. Went after church, went to church together, went and hit the gym together. I mean, these things are great, right? When you look for a partner, things you want to find. So anyway, but again, I've been slipping up a little bit here on my game. And I know that maintaining my discipline through these things, I know that that's for me, for my values, and for the goals that I want and the principles that I hold myself to. I know that maintaining those for myself will help me through these things, right? And through the process of all of this too, I've been eating like shit. And I've said this to you guys before. That's something I can do fairly easily, right? Especially since I quit drinking, food can be my drink. I will eat. And I haven't been eating the worst stuff, to be quite honest. Some of you haters out there are going to hate that I say In-N-Out, but fucking kiss my ass. I love In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger is not the worst. In-N-Out Burger, if you're going to go head over to In-N-Out and grab a 3x3 animal style and some French fries and a lemonade, that's much better than a freaking large Domino's pizza, which is another one I can easily handle. I would say In-N-Out's a much better option than Domino's pizza. But still, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to slip up and head on over to In-N-Out and get 2 fries instead of 1 and a chocolate shake. Now we're talking. Now we're getting a little dicey here, and then you want to go to the gym and punish yourself a little harder because. So you see what I'm saying, and And like I said, instead of going to the grocery store and planning out some decent meals and doing the cooking, right? I've been taking the easy road, right? And then what happens? I start to beat myself up. What the fuck are you doing, Jay? Fucking being a fucking pile. And then the negative talk starts to happen. And it can be a spiral. It's a spiral. But I really wanted to get in here and talk to you guys about that because it's sort of been bugging me lately that I've been off my game. I've been slipping up. I'm human. I'm human. I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody else. I make mistakes, right? I slip up. I don't always maintain, and that's weakness. That's a weakness. That can be a weakness. I really believe that staying focused and staying disciplined is key. It's a real key factor to maintaining yourself. It's key. Maintaining that discipline, right? Finding a routine, sticking with it, right? Maybe that means I don't get up at 4, right? Am I making a compromise? Maybe that's a compromise. Jocko Willink would say, oh, hell no, I don't compromise. Don't you compromise with that. Jocko, and Jocko's a freaking savage, and I guess, do I want to be a savage? There's a part of me that does. There's a part of me that this strong man that I want to live up to. There's a part of me that believes that being a strong man means being savage in certain areas. Doesn't mean being a savage all the time, but being a savage with self-discipline I think is really important. I mean, those are key factors. Maintaining discipline is important. And I get on myself. I start to get down on myself. Fuck, what are you doing, Jason? Fuck. Right? And then I want to minimize. None of these things that you're facing are that hard. There's no reason for you to be making excuses. A new job. You should be thankful you have a job. Very true. That's true. Responsibility. Taking on new responsibilities is challenging. I've done a lot of things in my life. There's this idea out there that, hey, and this is an important idea, I think, for all of us to remember. Remember this idea, because this idea for me helps me find empathy for others and compassion for other human beings, right? This idea is the worst thing that anybody's ever been through is the worst thing that they've been through. Imagine that. The worst thing that anyone's ever been through is the worst thing they've been through. And while we can talk about, the men who stormed the beach in Normandy and the hell that was Normandy, that was a lot. Shit. I can compare any one of these things that I'm going through in my life to that and say, wow, I should fucking be grateful for the the shit that is nothing compared to that, right? And that's true, but that also minimizes the stuff that I'm going through, because right now in my life, I feel like, well, quitting one job and taking on a new job is not the worst thing I've ever been through. I've done that before. But taking on a 50-50 role as a father and taking care of a 2-year-old daughter, that's brand new. Right? That's brand new. And that's difficult. And I would say that if you were to ask any man who's been through war to compare, now we don't always want to compare everything, but comparing war to comparing raising a child, two different things, but probably some responsibility in that. If we were to ask Jocko Willink about raising a child, I wonder what he would say about that. And again, I'm not saying that the two things are totally different, but as far as responsibility goes, right? I have to care for that. That's a human life that I have to care for. A little a little girl's life that I have to care for. And not only care for her, I have to teach her. I have to watch myself. I have to make sure that I'm teaching her correct, setting an example for her, and right, and being a role model for her. I have to model for her. She'll learn how to be a grouchy, grumpy, old fucking depressed dick who sleeps in every day and doesn't go to the gym and eats like shit, right? I have to model these things for her. And that's a lot of responsibility, right? And that's stressful. So I don't want to minimize that by comparing that to, storming the beach at Normandy. For me, this is storming the fucking beach at Normandy. The hardest thing I've ever been through is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And taking on a 2-year-old 50% of the time, that's difficult. Couple that on top of a brand new job. It's in the same industry that I understand, but still, it's a new job, right? I mean, so again, I don't want to minimize, but again, also, am I making excuses to allow these things to cause me, to slip up and fall off my game? I am using them as excuses. That may not be okay. Now, again, we can justify, you may even justify and go, Jay, cut yourself a little slack. Dude, cut yourself a little slack. You're still going to the gym. Shit, 5 o'clock still pretty early. 6 o'clock still pretty early. It's earlier than I get my fucking lazy ass up, Jason. I don't get up at 6 a.m. Like, to you might look at that and go, you're fucking killing it, Jay. But for me, I'm like, I'm beating myself up. No, it's 4 o'clock or it's nothing. Yeah. And so taking on, I'm beating myself up a little bit. I just got done texting. The phone. I was going to look at my phone. She asked me, did you get up this morning? And, this new woman I'm hanging out with, she's like, because I told her last night, I was like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to record a pod in the morning. And I was like, because I haven't recorded one in a little bit, right? That's another thing. You're just not doing shit, Jason. But I hadn't sat down and recorded a new episode in a little bit. And so I told her last night, yeah, I'm ready. There were some great words at church yesterday, and thank you, Father. There were some great words at church, and I heard some stuff that I needed to hear and was like, ooh, it's time to get back in the pod. I was like, I'm going to get in and record. And so I was going to get up early, and I wasn't going to go to the gym. I went to the gym yesterday and crushed. I'm freaking, my body is beat to hell. But I was going to get up early this morning and get in the pod. And so I slept in a little bit, and she's like, so did you record this morning? And I was like, no. And then I started to tell her everything that I told you guys in this text message. I was like, dude, I've been slacking lately and blah, 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 vomit, vomit, vomit. And then I was like, there's my podcast. And I just jumped in the pod and started. Now I'm telling you guys basically what I told her this morning about how I've been slacking and all of these things that I have that have lined up for me, right? And how they've all sort of accumulated all at once, and I have let them, I'm using them as excuses not to be on my game. And I said, well, there's my podcast. I'll be back. Let me jump in the pod and dive. So here I am. And then as I did that, I always look at my cue cards, and I saw these cue cards and saw responsibility. So I'm taking on some new responsibilities. And as you take on new responsibilities, there are adjustment periods, there are periods of processing, there are periods of, right? And I also think, here's another thing. Think about this, right? And this might be something that we don't necessarily always think about. The loss of one job, that's a loss, right? And there's going to be grief, right? Now, we might not think of it that way. We might not think of it like a death of a human or a breakup or the loss, but it is the death of one thing and the rebirth of another. It's the death of that job. It's the death of that part in me. And it's the rebirth of this new job, a new me, a new chapter. So there's mourning involved in that, right? There's mourning. There's grief. That's a loss. And let's not discount that. Again, we can compare that to the loss of a soldier in battle, but not the same. It's not the loss of human life, but it is a loss. And don't minimize those feelings that come up in grief and loss, right? I just left that old job Friday. It was my last day, and the guy that was my boss, him and I had a nice relationship. I've known him for years now. I took over his position. He taught me how to do his position. Then he moved up to another position. And then from there, he became the boss. Just the last year, he's became my manager, my direct manager. So him and I, from the moment I started, you know what I mean? He taught me how to run his route. He went into sales, and then he ran closely with me. Him and I made a ton of money together selling on the route, and then he became my operations manager. So him and I have been really close. And me leaving that job, I felt guilty, right? I feel guilty leaving him hanging because the route that I ran is a big route. And I took care of that. It was his baby, So here I am leaving him to put another person in that route that may not, they're big shoes to fill. That's a fucking big route, So I feel a little guilty about leaving him hanging, but I have to take care of me. I have to take this new opportunity. It's too good to pass up, and he understands that man to man, obviously, but still, that's hard. That's hard. I don't want to let him down. He's a good dude. I don't want to let anybody down, really. But I have to move on. But that's a loss, right? I'm losing that relationship. I'm losing that job. I'm losing those things. That's a loss. And so there's a mourning period. And just left Friday, and now I'm starting the new gig today. And that's kind of the way that's the way we roll in this country, right? It's not like I took a fucking week off. I would have liked to take a week off and gather myself before moving on, but we don't do that really. It's like, boom, quit that job, on to the next one, pull up your bootstraps. And again, Mr. Uncomfortable here, find something and get uncomfortable. Very true. Hustle it. I believe in hustling, and these things are uncomfortable. And I'm not afraid to deal with them, but I am using them as excuses, right? I'm certainly not above that, I'm not Jocko Willink. As much as I want to be as close to having a disciplined life like Jocko Willink, and some of these other men that I look up to, I fall short, and it certainly takes practice. That's for sure. It takes a lot of practice. And I work on practicing those things. Yeah, fallen short lately on my personal values, discipline. Discipline's a big one for me. Maintaining that discipline, and that's a big one. So, and that kind of goes into a couple podcasts back, right? The imposter syndrome. Am I full of shit telling you guys? I don't believe that I'm full of shit. Here I am being honest and open and letting you know, right? But still, you can feel like an imposter sometimes, right? And so now here I am failing at my program, but what am I going to do about it? Well, new job starts today, so I'm going to get in there and I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to give them 100% today and start that new job, right? 50-50's coming up a couple weeks from now. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do, and I'm going to kill it. I'm going to give it 100%. You know, get back on my routine and get up tomorrow morning and get early, right? Start planting that seed now. Tomorrow, I'm going to get up early, right? Tomorrow, I'm going to jump in the pod and we're going to find out tomorrow. See what time I jump in the pod. Tomorrow, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go hit the gym, and then I'm going to come sit down, and we'll jump in the pod. Tomorrow will be Tuesday. Today is Monday, right? And we'll see. All right? Those of you who are on my Instagram will know. We'll see. Fuck around and find out. But yeah, man. So... responsibility. Should we hit these definitions or save them for another? Responsibility. Let's see what parts of these I like. The state or fact of having a duty to deal with or having control over someone. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. The opportunity to act independently and make decisions without authorization. A thing that one is required to do as a part of a job, role, or legal obligation. A moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of. Being accountable or to blame for something. My responsibility to myself is to maintain discipline. That's a goal of mine and a responsibility. Having a duty to deal with, right? My duty to my daughter is a responsibility. A moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of my daughter. A thing that one is required to do as a part of a role or obligation. A father, that's a role. Required to do. The state or fact of having a duty to deal with. The duty, a job, my job. Right? What's your duty? What are your duty? And to myself. I have a duty to honor myself and to honor my discipline. That's my duty for self-care. So if I don't take care of myself, what good am I to anybody else? Personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. I think that's where I was getting at with these cards. So I can introduce these definitions, get them in my head, and perhaps tomorrow morning after I crush the fucking gym and crush the alarm clock at 4:0400, here comes the ego. No, but really, here comes Drill Sergeant. Here comes Sergeant Berg telling Jason to get his punk ass up. Get your punk ass up out of bed. Boot camp. Back to boot camp tomorrow morning. 0400. And we'll talk about personal responsibility. Something I think is lacking in this country. Personal responsibility. Yeah, tomorrow when I get into that podcast, we might get a little heavy when I get into the personal responsibility podcast. Might get a little heavy. I might throw my rule book down. But again, I have to always remember that if I'm preaching and I ain't practicing, shut the fuck up. Maybe? You know? again, I hope that I'm being honest about it a little bit and being vulnerable about it and sharing with you guys that I'm not always perfect, right? And it's okay to not be perfect. We are imperfect creatures, you know? And I continue to work on these things. It's a work in progress as new things come in, right? And even the discipline thing for me is the getting up early thing for me every day. I haven't been doing it for years either. So is that an excuse? Am I excusing myself? Or am I justifying it? I don't know. You tell me. Get in those comments. But these things are a lot. All of these things are a lot of things. Add them all up. Add them all up. Put them on your plate. And the music came in on my. It must be. We're at 30 minutes. Yep, 30. I have it at 30. The music came in. It distracted me. Time to stand up and speak your mind. So yeah, again, what was I saying? These things are a lot. These things are a lot. Are they fucking, again, is it storming the beach at Normandy? No, it's not. Okay, perspective is important. Okay, and maybe I needed to sit down and share this with you guys so I could get to that point. Okay, Jay, hold on. Are you storming the beach at Normandy? No, then get up and go. Okay, it's okay. You've recognized that you've made some excuses. You've recognized that things are important, that these are big responsibilities that you're taking on. Don't minimize them, but it's not Normandy, so get up and go. Right? So get up and go, and you got this. Right? And I know you guys got this. What responsibilities are you guys taking on? Right? Make a list. Get in your journal and make a list of your responsibilities. What are the new responsibilities you've taken on? What are some big responsibilities you've taken on in the past? Right? What are your personal responsibilities towards yourself? Right? What is your requirement as your role for self? Self is a role. A thing that one is required to do as a part of a role, right? Self is a role. And for me, I add that requirement, that responsibility of journaling. That's one of my requirements, right? That's a requirement, a responsibility that I choose to do. Choose responsibility. All right, guys, I think that's good for now. Thanks for letting me holler. Tomorrow morning, we'll see you bright and early on the pod, and we're going to get into personal responsibility. I love you guys. Peace, and I'm out.
You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see sun's